part two, Carter.
Ah!
Oh, he
That
peaked.
probably sound.
You peaked. You went like we got like a solid three of those like 8 H's, and then it went out.
Oh God, I apologize to the American people. I'm sorry, Michelle Obama. I'm sorry, Congress. Yeah, so we had a little technical difficulty, so we basically have one team and a whole division left. And I couldn't think of an extra cutoff point.
Yeah, that's fine.
Shall we?
Yeah, maybe one of these days I'll put an effort to actually like edit these together, but I won't.
Someday Disney Desk will be able to afford an editor, and I'll just get to
Throw
be the
these on the
on-air
slide.
talent. Yeah. I'll throw them on the side. I'll be someday. The dream is to be on-air talent.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, the Las Vegas. I almost called them Oakland. The Las Vegas Raiders, a pedestrian 4 and wow, that season was worse than I remember. 2-2 before completely falling off and going 4-12. Fired their coach, the interim coach who they brought on. Oh God, what is his name? Uh, Oh God, who did they fire? Oh, I'm always so forgetful on these things.
Richard
Um,
Nixon. No, off the top of my head.
Antonio Pierce, who yes, Antonio Pierce, who won over the locker room when his interim state in the aftermath of the
Was that Frank?
the
No,
McDaniel
McDaniel. Yeah,
disaster.
Frank Wright was
After the
Panthers, right?
Yes, correct. The McDaniel disaster, only to discover he wasn't a very good coach. They traded Devontae Adams mid-season. Went through a weird collection of quarterbacks that included Gardner Minshew, O'Connell, and Desmond Ritter for some reason.
Yeah, that felt
Ultimately,
weird.
yes. Ultimately cleaned house and sort of they are one of the other big teams that kind of just feel like they are completely brand new. They brought in Pete Carroll, the former Seahawks coach,
Mm-hmm.
new offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, who had who kind of just peaked back in college, getting the national championship with Ohio State as the offensive coordinator. And most importantly, finally bringing in the quarterback. Geno Smith is now in God, they should be in Oakland. They
They
should
should
be in
be in
Oakland.
Oakland, but they're in Vegas.
Las Vegas Raider. He is a Las Vegas Raider, and on top of that, they added the sort of cream to the crop, was Ashton Genty, the delightful Boise State running back who was second in the league if you only counted yards after contact.
I can.
It literally last year it was he led the country in rushing, and number two was Ashton Genty after contact.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, another team where I'm like, are the vibes suspiciously good? Are we going to get to the year and the offensive line isn't as good as we think, and like the weird sort of stars and scrubs element is going to come into play? But on the other hand, it's like it kind of just feels like this team is weird, right? Because it's like
It's
there's a little bit of the Gruden team left, there's a little bit of the McDaniels team left,
you
and
also have to
like the
talk
common
about like
three.
what they brought in too. Like they have
Mhm.
Amari Cooper, that Raheem Mostert is now on the team.
A collection of like veterans who are capable of surprises and adults in the room, more importantly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting because it's like, well, why did none of these other teams work? And it's like, well, you didn't have the quarterback, and now you have the quarterback.
Yeah, and they have Kenny Pickett as their backup too, so it's not like they have one option and one option alone. I think I think the vibe this is giving me is like CJ Stroud's first year, where it's like a not the world's best franchise,
Mhm.
but it's like okay, they might have done some work, and I mean, sure, it's at like an older capacity with like Gino and Max Crosby as opposed to CJ and Will Anderson Jr. But it's
Mhm.
like you got you've got this weird hodgepodge of veterans at like that are going to be starting at almost every position.
Mhm.
With and it's all under Pete Carroll, who's
The oldest coach in the NFL.
yeah oldest coach, but like I would say a rightfully deserved veteran with a quarterback he already knows,
Yes.
which I feel like
I,
has to give a little bit of a plus.
right. And also, like, you have an offensive coordinator who does want to look. I know we all rag on Chip Kelly because he was an awful head coach who like refused to change and also drove away your best players.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he's still a good offensive coordinator, and he basically spent the last couple years at Ohio State like learning the mistakes he made.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is a weird team because it's like, by any reasonable metric, a 4-13 team should be rebuilding, and it's like, yeah, but the talent's here now. Like, again, you have one good wide receiver. You have one truly great pass catcher in Brock Bowers. You have the flashy rookie running back. You have the starting quarterback. You have the elite pass rusher that makes every other defensive position make more sense. Like, it is kind of, they're in a weird spot where they're one of the most win now teams I've ever seen that
Mm-hmm.
only won 4 games last year.
Yeah. I think let me see their schedule a little bit. Start with the Patriots. That could be a fun pace setter.
Mm,
Chargers and Commanders. If Commanders don't hit the Jaden Daniels sophomore slump, I think that's going to be their key
right.
for if they're still good or not. Bears, Colts, Titans. Yeah, I would. There's some tougher teams like the Chiefs twice and the Eagles and the Broncos twice. But I would say their team seems relatively like without really seeing any of their practices, I could see them being a very middle of the pack. Like I I don't see them being last in their conference,
Hmm.
but I don't like I wouldn't be surprised if they had like an 8-9 or a 7-10, like a
Hmm.
losing, but like you can kind of get investors in losing, where it's just like, yeah, we can we can possibly trade
Hmm.
things around. We can make Ashton Genty look good, and we can do some wheeling and dealing where if contract with some of the contracts that are up next season, we don't look like a graveyard for like a veteran. We can be like, hey, we can seem
Right.
comparable.
Right. It is interesting that it is like again, they have an energy of win now, but it is also still like well, figure out what because they didn't get to cherry pick all of the individual players they want. They didn't create the entire system they've wanted, other than Gino, other than Ashton. So it is going to be interesting to see, like, you know, if they don't make the playoffs, will they still be given room to like grow? Will they still be given
Mm-hmm.
will they still be given a decent enough leash as a sort of new creative team? Um, yeah, no, they're fascinating because again, it's like I could see them making the playoffs. I could see the Chargers making the playoffs. I could see the Broncos made the playoffs last year. Well, the Chargers did too, but I'm barely counting that. Um, like I could see every team in this division winning it, but again, we've gotten burned on this so many times in the past. We keep being like, "Oh, this is the year. It's all coming together for the AFC West. Finally, the Chiefs are going to have a run for their money." 17 weeks of unsolicited diarrhea.
Yeah.
Never mind then. Um, it'll be an interesting one, that's for sure. All right. AFC East. Buffalo Bills. Let's just get this out of the way.
All right.
Uh,
Do you want me to put you on a timer, or you want to?
I'll keep it brisk,
Let's
I
say
promise.
we got this little baby episode, so you can go off a little bit.
I mean, I don't.
I'll let
It's
you off
every
the
time I
reins a
just
little
get so
bit.
I get so tired of getting angry about this because it's like we're in near year 9 of the Sean McDermott experience, or in year 8 of the Brandon Bean experience. They are not going to change. They're not going to grow. They've been successful enough that they're inoculated from that until there's a complete calamitous disaster. And I think last year, and I guess this is the point I'm going to largely make, they went 13-4, pretty much cruised through the year, taking advantage of a weaker schedule. Like, I think genuinely last season was the absolute worst thing that could have happened to this organization because the media kind of buried them early because they got rid of Stephon Diggs a year early. They moved off of Poyer and Hyde, their old aging safeties. They shed a lot of older cap in order to sign their new core. Um, and as a result, and while everyone buried them while elevating the Dolphins and the Jets, like, of course the Dolphins weren't going to be that good. They can't win in December. And of course the Jets were going to suck. They
They're
were
the
putting all their
Jets.
chips in the Aaron Rodgers basket. Yeah, like, why did people think this was going to work? And then, yeah, the Bills, all of the talk about how great an offense it is, this self-flagellation all these commentators did where they were, like, apologizing for doubting the Bills. They cruised on a cupcake schedule last year. Not only did they play an absolute crap division that's always been crap, but they took care of an NFC West that was more interesting than it was talented. You know, they got the Cardinals early and squeaked out a win against them. You know, they beat the Seahawks when they were still pretty discombobulated. They beat the 49ers in the game where they officially just quit because Christian McCaffrey got knocked out.
Yeah.
And then they lost to the Rams. But then they also get the AFC South and bully on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans, and the Colts.
I feel like
The
that means
only
nothing.
Yeah, like they keep being like, oh, we scored 30 points a game. And I'm like, I'm not giving you credit because you scored 40 against the Jets and 40 against the Jaguars. That doesn't count. I'm sorry. Because the real defenses, like the real competitive teams you went against, Baltimore ripped your dick off. Houston, they basically handed you that game at the end and you couldn't score a touchdown and ended up losing. The Rams, you lost in a shootout. The Lions, you won that one, but that's because that offense was like their defense was actively
weird.
falling apart at that point. Yeah,
weird
their
on
defense
that day.
they were on like third starters at multiple positions. And you beat Kansas City in the regular season, but it's become abundantly clear they just do not try, especially on defense. They do not try against you. Like again, you listen to them after that playoff loss against the Chiefs, and they talk about like, yeah, we never saw that coverage before. Yeah, we never saw them run that play before, and it's like, yeah, because they don't. It doesn't matter to them as much as it matters to you, and that's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
And yeah, and like again, it's what I said last time. You do not lose to a team 4 straight times by accident. I keep being told by so many people that it's going to happen. That's become the refrain in the locker room. That's become the refrain of the organization. It's going to happen eventually, and we just have to keep on keeping on. And it's like, at some point, you would have won one of these by accident. Like, Tyreek would have dropped that ball during the 13 seconds game. Bass would have made the kick. They would have made the right call on that 4th and inches play. Like, to lose them 4 times is just emblematic of the fact that you are simply not built, like you on an organizational level cannot beat them. The way you design your team, the way you approach game planning, your head coach in high pressure moments, it's just going to get big dogged by them every single time. And normally that would be a motivator for change. That would be a motivator to try a new strategy. But instead, this was an entire offseason of playing the hits. Let's re-sign Greg Rousseau and Khalil Shakir, like a lot of guys who are perfectly solid Bs, but no As. Let's draft another. Our first round pick is going to be Maxwell Harrison, who's just like Kyer Elam. Our second round pick is going to be Sanders, who's just like Ed Oliver. Our third pick is going to be that guy whose name I don't remember, but it's basically AJ Epinesa of like big defensive end who's good at stopping the run but doesn't have the bend to be a pass rusher. Like again, let's bring in another round of veteran defensive linemen and wide receivers to see if they'll pop for just long enough for us to get over the hump. Like someone described it someone said it's like they're getting cocky, they're getting cute because it worked this year. And it's not cocky, it's not cute, it's arrogant. There's an arrogance to continually doing this. But again, as long as you're able to take advantage of a crap division, as long as, this is case study number 1 in a great quarterback basically inoculating you from bad franchise building. Like basically, if you have one of the best quarterbacks, you're basically guaranteed 9 to 11 wins. Like they're not going to face any consequences for it. And I think like what really depresses me about all of this is there's a really good piece by Victoria Zeller. It's the one I shared. She's actually been referenced by the official NFL Twitter because she described Aiden Hutchinson as running like Waluigi. But of course, her Twitter handle is dirtbag queer, so they can't reference that. But anyway, here's a little bit from a piece she did about the Bills that I think really kind of sums up how I'm feeling lately. A full accounting of Pegula's crimes could fill dozens of columns, from his well-documented love of $100 million yachts to the absolute ruin he's left the Buffalo Sabres organization in. Today, I'd like to turn my ire to the $850 million he's stolen from the public. If you're out of the loop on this, the Buffalo Bills are building a new stadium right across the street from their old one. Part of their ransom note to the state of New York included $850 million, which is to be believed to be the most public money an NFL team has ever been granted. Originally pitched as a $1.4 billion project, the stadium is extremely over budget, which costs north of $2.1 billion as of October 2024. Thankfully, the extra money's actually coming out of the Pagula pocket, proving, of course, that he always had the fucking money in the first place. What are the fans getting in exchange for their mandatory generosity? What a bar. New Highmark Stadium will have about 10,000 fewer seats for starters. Current season ticket holders who want to keep their tickets will also have to purchase personal seat licenses, which are this neat scam sports stadiums invented so they can sell you the same seat twice. Between the lowered supply and addition of PSLs, tickets at the new stadium are expected to be egregiously expensive. Some diehard fans will be priced out entirely, likely diminishing the atmosphere of home games, while others will spend the money they don't have on PSLs. After all, M&T, the official bank of the Buffalo Bills, will be happy to help you out with a 10-year interest-controlled repayment plan. The timing of everything. Yes. The first words were like crossed out, and then repayment plan is put in front of it. But here's the part that actually matters for this. The timing of everything, obviously, should give the game away. That $850 million the public's on the hook for is a Josh Allen tax. The Bills wouldn't be able to get away with such a naked extortion of the public if the fan base wasn't more drunk on success and love for their team than they've ever been, and I'm comfortable including the '90s Super Bowl teams in that assessment. Bagula picked his moment, let it rip, and robbed us blind. There's nothing I or anyone else can do about it, but shut up, pay more for less, and be grateful Josh Allen isn't suiting up for the Toronto Argonauts in like 2 seasons. I have an extremely low opinion of my fellow Bills fans, but God, they deserve better than that. So much better. And yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, and to tie it into basketball, which is kind of more of my bag than the football, really. It's, after the Bucks burned down the playoffs, there was this discussion of like, well, they have to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo, the best player in the NBA, and someone just made the point of like, hey, not every team is trying to either win now or blow it all up all the time. Some teams are cool just having the best player in the league, putting him on the tickets, and being okay and selling a lot of tickets, and that's where we're at. Like, they have perfectly harmonized this thing where the worst they can do is 10-7. They will always make the playoffs, and they can kind of just cruise on the false hope of like, hey, maybe it will bounce our way just once. Maybe we will just get that lucky pull one time. Hiding the fact that this should have been, when you have a generational player, you kind of have an obligation to not win one, but win multiple. Yeah, it kind of sums it up.
It's a lovely speech.
Thank you. Well, to be fair, part of it was just reading someone else's more eloquent and elegant words than mine. But, it kind of sums up my feelings well of, sometimes it sucks having one of the best players in the league because the minute your billionaire owner catches on to that, that's it. Mm-hmm. You're a sideshow. You're not a real team. And honestly, so much, like the minute I really hyper-fixated on the stadium, so much of this kind of pieced together for me because it really dawned on me all they ever talk about on all of those like Bills talk shows is new stadium Josh Allen, new stadium Josh Allen, and it kind of just gave the game away. And yeah, I hope for change. I hope one time things sort of bounce the right way for us, but like, or it all blows up in a way that forces them to change. But there's a whole song about waiting on the world to change. I don't know why I decided to make that the reference.
Yeah, that was a choice. Not a bad choice.
It didn't go anywhere.
It was like an interesting one for you. But yeah, the Buffalo Bills.
Honestly, I'm just glad Josh Allen has more of an involved personal life now, so this isn't life or death for him.
Yeah, no, he's already got a pitch perfect girl, so.
Well, I would have said Hawkeye, but anyway, the Miami Dolphins. Fuck this team. I mean, what else can you say? Like, this is definitely bottom 5 falls.
I thought you meant for the Bills. I was like, Bills have.
Oh, well, yeah, fuck that team. Joey Bosa, because surely overpaying for a aging, oft injured veteran won't blow up in our face for the 5th fucking time. But yeah. Mm-hmm. I just like it's just good. It's the fact that people are like penciling in them in for the Super Bowl. Based on what? Based on what have they changed? What has gotten better? Again, this idea of like, oh, things will just naturally get. That's why we're fucked right now. In the world as a whole, just this idea of like, well, if
There
we just
isn't a
continue on,
crazy move.
yeah, they didn't do anything. And frankly, like all the fucking Bills fans who are like trying to justify not going for Micah Parsons, like Brandon Beane has bitched for 3 years about how hard it is to get blue chip talent. Blue chip talent just falls out of the tree because Jerry Jones is older than Joe Biden and is even more senile, and you don't even try to go get him. And the fans who are like, well, the cap space, the cap space. You fucking. That's what gets me about the Bills. We are the most coddled fucking fan base. Again, you get a cutesy nickname, and suddenly y'all think you're fucking experts on everything. Like, you shouldn't be thinking about cap space. You should be thinking about winning at all cost, you fucking soft doughboys. Go eat some Pillsbury. Christ. Have some self respect.
The Miami
Anyway.
Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins, somehow sadder than the Bills because there's no delusion of hope. Ended up going 8-9. Actually had a chance for all the angst and bad vibes. They did almost make the playoffs. The season started with in week 1 with Tyreek Hill getting pinned to the ground by some cops. Week
Did
2
happen.
ended
I
with
forgot
Tua
about that.
Tagovailoa. Right? Of course, the season was a disaster. That's literally the start of the season is your best player getting arrested. As week 2 ended with Tua Tagovailoa having his 4th or 5th concussion, depending on how you count it, and things never really gelled from there. Honestly, I'm hard pressed to think of how many big changes they made. It's another one where the team is kind of the team.
Yeah, they haven't really like. I don't think they've done enough to combat what they've been through slash have to go through. Like they obviously have the Bills twice. Um,
Mhm.
they have the Patriots twice too, which I'll talk about a little bit when, like, my thoughts on where they're going. When we get to them next, I believe.
Yes.
But
It's a bold
they're
strategy, Cotton, to have a whole offseason about how you want to get
mhm,
tougher and you need to get tougher to win, and then just kind of not make any moves to forward that quest.
yeah. Like there is the acquisition of Minka Fitzpatrick, or was that a new acquisition or is that an old one? I thought it was
No, that's new. That's
okay.
that actually happened pretty recently in relation to this episode.
All right, I just wanted to make sure because, like, sometimes I'm just thinking of one person and I just completely biff it. But it's a matter of, like, if you look at their schedule, they have the Panthers, who got a little doubts on. They have the Jets and the Patriots twice, which it's like, all right, I wouldn't be surprised if you go 1-1. But it's like, all right, here's the Bills twice. Here's the Ravens. Here's the Steelers. Here's the Bengals. Here's the Bucks. Where I feel like they're on the same level as the, like, if I had to make a division like of like relatively same level, Bengals, Dolphins, Steelers, Bucks could be the same division. Um, they're all relatively like middle of the pack, upper, like, could more likely than not would all end with a positive record. But I think out of that 4 stack, the Dolphins are the worst team.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
they're kind of they're kind of striking to grapple with because it's like
you also have them against the like Commanders, which is like we're not sure yet if we're getting last season's Commanders or like sophomore slump Commanders.
mhm.
Because
Well, it's also just fascinating. Well, it's so fascinating because you could easily see them making the playoffs. I feel like because again, it's like they were almost in the playoffs, and basically anytime Tua Tagovailoa plays, they're actually pretty good.
mm-hmm,
The problem is he doesn't play a lot, and they
yeah,
for some reason have just obstinately decided they're not going to address this matter.
his brains are liquid, and it needs to be addressed. Well, there, I
Right?
said it.
It's yeah. I just
I'm more legitimately worried about this guy's like actual life at this point than his life outside of football.
oh yeah no, and it's sad that he feels like it's sad that he feels like this is the path forward for him, but like that he can't just, you know, wrap it up. But yeah, it's I don't know. Like it's just sad because it's like they are very of all the teams, they feel like the team who has run its course the most and is now just kind of hanging out. Again, I haven't looked at the betting odds because I don't do gambling, but I would bet that like McDaniel is like maybe candidate number one to get fired first. And it's like if you felt the need to make a statement about like, oh, we're not gonna, we're not gonna settle for mediocrity, but we're not gonna fire anyone. You should probably just fire the coach and start fresh.
Yeah, I think they're chilling at this like weird like there's like Giants purgatory where they've been struggling for so long.
Hmm.
Um, can't deny that. And they can't like they sure there was that like playoff run they had, but it's like I don't feel like that really counts if they can't really like the. I'm not saying they have to duplicate it, but like they just kind of like all right, cool, and then shit the bed completely.
Hmm.
But it's like the Dolphins are like always like like around 500, maybe a little below, maybe a little high because you can't technically be exactly 500.
I hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it.
Um, yeah, I said
You
that
know
like
how much that drives me
I know
insane.
that's why said it. With like that kind of stuff, so it's like all right, I can see them having 8, 9, 9 and 8, maybe dipping into the 10 and 7s.
Right, and that's like sad that that's the best case scenario of like,
Yeah,
yay, we'll make the sixth seed and lose in the first round.
yeah. I think though the interesting part about this is like though like their coach is on the chopping block. Meanwhile, Tomlin and the Steelers, who's like, yeah, we'll get like 9 to 10 wins and end on a winning record for the X amount of time. It's just
Right.
like Dolphins are at least they seem like they're gonna be like we're gonna we're gonna end this if you don't give us legitimate results.
It's kind of funny how delightfully arbitrary all of this is sometimes, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, their team isn't terrible. They got Achan, they got Tyreek Hill and Waddle. They got decent amounts on the like in the backfield and stuff.
Right. Again, Achan is one of the statistical most dynamic players in the NFL when Tua plays, and when he doesn't, he's basically
He's
like Alexander Madison.
yeah, he's out.
It's genuinely hilarious how like and again it's like it's not fun to talk about Tua to a certain extent at this point because it's more sad than anything. But it really is just so weird how the team just has like just completely craters.
Yeah,
And yeah, it's like not that's the thing. Despite having a lot of fun players on paper, like having like all of this sick nasty speed and like, they scored 70 points, they're not fun to talk about, which I think is the most damning thing about them.
yeah. They don't like they've had runs, but they don't really have like you don't go like like did you see that Dolphins game?
Hmm.
Like you say that when it's in reference to their opponent,
Hmm.
but it's like yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's all right. Like yeah, Dolphins. That's it. That's all you really get now.
Um, a more interesting team for this year, the New England Patriots. Uh,
These might
again,
be my
it's
don't sleep on. Like I, this might be my don't sleep on team.
yes. They went. What did they go last year? I'm pulling it up now. I'm trying to remember. They were four. There was a big. There was a
4-13.
logjam of 4-13, and the Titans are like, "Yeah, we didn't blow the last fucking game, baby."
Yeah, I
Well,
think
I will say, watching Abdul Carter in the preseason, I'm like, man, I'm really glad the Bills threw that last game.
Yeah.
We could have dealt with him twice.
No, thank you.
Yeah. It is wild they won their first game, which often happens with crap teams. Like, remember when the Jaguars went with Urban Meyer went like 2 and
Yeah.
14, but they won their first game and then the Bills game and then just completely cratered? Oh, that's a fun fact. Sean McDermott is the only active coach to have lost to Urban Meyer. Anyway, yeah, they went 4 and 13, picked up Will Campbell in the draft and Travion Henderson, the dynamic Ohio State running back.
hmm
And then basically spent like a drunk roughneck on payday, as Hank Hill would describe it, picking up Stephon Diggs, Harold Landry III,
Yeah.
Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis III, Morgan Moses, Milton Williams, the Eagle, Joshua Dobbs for some reason,
Yeah,
Mac
that was it.
Hollins, the
I think
meme.
Joshua Dobbs is just trying to get his way through it. Like the entire league. Him and Jameis Winston.
Gotta keep yourself busy somehow.
hmm
And again, maybe the best job in the world, backup quarterback. No one expects anything of you. 9 times out of 10, you never have to go in. You get paid more money than 90% of the population gets to see in their lives. And you don't put your body at risk.
Yeah.
It all works out. But anyway, yeah, they are kind of one of the darlings of the preseason. They spent the cap that they only had because they were bad at drafting for a while.
hmm
New head coach Mike Vrabel, sort of bringing in a lot of. It seemed like they wanted to break away from the Belichick way, kind of half-assed it,
I
and
think
now they're like, well, what if we
now
just pivot toward that?
I think now with Mike Vrabel, it's going to be clear that like cuz he's a pretty solid coach in my opinion.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be clear that it's like this is the Mike Vrabel way now, as opposed to
Yeah.
like the this is not the Belichick way as it was for the last little stint. But
Hmm.
I think like I like I liked what we saw from them last year, where it's like sure they weren't winning a lot, and but there was like a relative amount of like closeness for the vast majority of their games. Like a lot, like if you look at their schedule from last year, a lot of them are one score games, and I think they kind of filled in those spots a little bit with picking up people like Will Campbell, giving Drake May someone to throw to with Stephon Diggs, and
Hmm.
getting all that like freshman just like this is screwed. Like let's get that out. And now it's his like
Right.
sophomore year, where as opposed to seeing if he'll hit a sophomore slump, I think it's more of like a let's check out this like let's see if he could hit like a real stride on this one.
Right. It is like their biggest problems were offensive line skill positions. And
hmm
while they didn't get the best option at every category, they got a pretty decent
Yeah,
option. I do think
I
Diggs has more to offer than we feel like he does.
yeah I think he kind of like he got screwed a little bit last year with the Texans, a because he got hurt, but it's like he I think he thrives more if he's like the guy,
Hmm.
and I think this with this team he's more likely to be the guy.
Hmm.
Um, and
And it's
I
worth
really
noting in
liked
8 games, he did
Soroka.
have like 500 yards.
Yeah,
Yeah, like all the hand wringing about Will Campbell and his arm size, it's like, I don't know, man.
if
SEC is really hard, and he was all conference.
yeah.
I'm like,
Also,
I'm
if you
willing to
look at
bet that he's at least pretty good.
people like Jason Kelsey, where it's just like he's a head smaller than like the rest of his offensive line, like his final season, and yet he was able to hold his own. So I feel like
Hmm.
people like him kind of throw out the small guy versus technique thing.
Yeah.
Um, I think like I'm not saying these this is going to be like a winning team. They do open against the Raiders, but they still have the Bills twice.
Right.
They have the Bucks and Bengals and Ravens, so it's like they're kind of Like they're very like middle of the pack, but I can see them pulling out like a sneaky win over like the Dolphins, um,
Right.
kind of holding back the Titans and Saints and stuff like teams that are clearly below their weight class.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the problem is people are gassing them up to be a sleeper playoff team, and I'm like, can I just see them win like seven
I
games?
I
Can we
don't
not rush
I
to
don't see
jump to
them
that?
being a sleeper playoff team right off the bat, but I can see this being not a top 10 pick team.
Yes, I think let's start there and work our way up. How about?
Yeah.
I think in general, maybe that's a big flaw with the NFL media. We really do want like another team, especially if we can't guarantee the Bengals being
Mm-hmm.
the fourth best team in the AFC anymore. Like we really do want someone to challenge that pantheon. Um,
Yeah.
but like again, I'm reticent to remind everyone that with Drake May they won a single game, uno, one. Um, most and I love Drake May. I actually think he's really cool.
He's
I'm
a good
actually
pick.
kind of pissed the Patriots didn't screw it up and not pick him. But like I I don't want him to turn into Herbert and Lawrence where we keep telling ourselves that he's great and it's like, all right, well where are the wins coming from?
Yeah, no, I
You know what
think
I'm saying?
I know what you mean. Drake May is just that like I feel like I feel like this team should be building around him now as opposed to having him fill in.
Right. I think he had enough elevated play last year where you're like, yeah, no.
You can see shining lights, and it's like
Right.
he might like he clearly didn't have enough to like finish strong in games, and I think people like Stephon Diggs really like because like last year it's like all right like we're gonna use uh, Stevenson over and over again, and
Mhm.
he didn't really have anything to work with. So I think Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollis are good enough that it's just like you you don't have one option, which is probably the best case scenario.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect way of putting it. Yeah, because it is like I don't know. At least for me with Drake May, it is like what we're talking about, where it's like I gotta see it, even if you're not like CJ Stroud level good right away in terms of playoff wins, good stats. I just need to see it where I'm like, you look like you belong out there. You're not
Mm-hmm.
getting run off the court,
Yeah,
and I feel like we're at least there.
yeah. I want to see him like on the October 26th against the Browns, who have a pretty solid defense. Like bar anything happening beforehand.
Hmm.
Like see them against the Patriots and like Steeler defenses because I actually yeah they are playing a couple teams that have very solid defenses. So I think that will be his like true ringer of like I'm gonna be
Hmm.
like I'm gonna be put through a little bit of the paces and tests, but
Yes.
if I like and it's like ones that it's like you're not gonna get from the Titans or like the Giants or Saints. Saints is a better example.
Right. Yeah. If anything, like I kind of want the Patriots to end up the Pacer team this year.
They
I think that would be a good place to work from.
yeah that that's kind of when I was like I feel like there is like that like kind of four categories of teams where it is your bottom of the barrel you're getting a
Hmm.
top 10 pick and then there's the you're not getting the top 10 pick but you're not exactly good and then obviously the good teams and then I feel like there's that sneaky fourth category of like the don't sleep on. I'm actually a pacer team, or if you beat me, you're a good team. But if you lose to me, you're in that bottom half.
Hmm.
Kind of like last year's Seahawks, where it's just like very middle of the pack, very like if like they lost some major games, but they won other ones. So it's like, all right, people against you are pretty Like that's you're the mark.
Um, Speaking of marks, the fandom for the New York Jets. God, of course we end on them. 5-12, a miserable slog of it. What's crazy is going into that Bills game after they fired Robert Saleh, they were 2-3. They easily could have won that game, been 3-3, and everything would have been fine. But nope, that wasn't how this was supposed to go. Their main move for the offseason was getting rid of their head coach in favor of the former Lions defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. They brought in Justin Fields to replace Aaron Rodgers,
Love
and
that.
for the most for the most part, I do think it is largely the same. And it's funny how much better the vibes feel just purely on the removal
Hmm.
of that vibes vampire. Truly, like because again, it's like they could easily go 5-12 again.
Yes,
Like,
easily.
they do have talent, but again, it's like Justin Fields has not proven himself to be a consistent winner. But because he's more likable, sheerly on the merit of him being more likable and him being at a point where you can build an offense around him. Like Aaron Rodgers wants to run what he wants to run, and it's very hard to build a winning offense around that, especially as he gets less mobile and especially as he just throws the ball way more. At least with Justin Fields, it's like you can make a winnable offense with him.
Hmm.
It's not going to be pretty. It's gonna be real old school dirt ball sort of stuff, but you can do it.
Yeah, I think I think they were. I don't want to say they were like the smartest team in the off season and stuff, but the smartest move was getting rid of Rodgers.
Mhm.
I think that was by far clearly the thing, and they kept like the Jets that were like the Jets before he came, like Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, and stuff.
Mhm. The
Um,
talent that just made you think adding Aaron Rodgers would be what gets you over the top.
yeah, and I think the fact that they didn't lose them and Justin Fields feels like a solid addition to that. Um, where it's just like you're still in purgatory because you're the Jets alone. Like end of statement. But you can you can actually like breathe as opposed to I feel like last year where it's just like you screw up and Rodgers gets you off the team.
Mhm.
I think I think they can use enhancement talent and they did draft. Oh, I just had him. An offensive tackle whose name I'm not going to pronounce because it is, um, yeah, Armand Membu,
Yes.
where it's just like probably going to probably butcher that, but it's like, all right, you're at least smart with your first round pick. You're not doing like you don't need anything crazy. You have like I wouldn't say Justin Fields is like a top tier quarterback, but I feel like he's not bottom tier. Um,
Mm. Again, he's competent. Is he ever going to be what a lot of us hoped he could be in
no,
terms of like raw physical talent?
no,
Probably not.
but
But can he at least be a above average sort of like 15th best starter in the NFL? I don't think that's out of the question.
yeah, I think I think you can at least list 10 quarterbacks that are worse than him without really thinking about it too hard. But also, I think you can list 10 quarterbacks that are better than him without
Mhm.
trying that hard. I think he's very middle of the pack, and that just might be what they need after leaving Mr. Into the Darkness Aaron Rodgers.
Well, honestly, Christ. Um,
Yeah,
no,
I
but
still
like
think
that's
that.
exactly what they needed because again, it's like, yeah, this is a culture setting year. Whether or not Justin Fields is in your long term plans is ambiguous at this point. Because again, with the Lions, there was a scenario where Goff was gone after that first year. He was a part of the Stafford trade because it was the only way to make the cap situation work for both teams.
Hmm.
So, like, there was a perfectly reasonable scenario where they moved on from him after that, but they committed, and it more or less has worked out. But, like, yeah, like, this could be another year like that where they don't have a lot of wins, but it feels way better. There's improvements made, and you may or may not commit to the quarterback going forward. There's a lot of options. And I think that's the biggest thing. The worst part about the Aaron Rodgers thing is it kind of forced you into getting stuck. Like, it forced you into one path, it forced you into one vision of, one vision of the team. And that he's not good enough at that point to at this point to justify that. So
Hmm.
at least now you're like, at least now you have options.
Yeah, I think I think this is one of those teams, and I've said this in years past, where it's like you get to about week somewhere between somewhere in like October or November, and that's when the team decides, hey, we should let's phone it in for the rest of this season, or hey,
Hmm.
let's turn on the Jets. Duh, get it? Which
I
actually, if you like
uh,
look at, they have a Michael Parsons-less Cowboy. Like this is starting in October and November. Like Micah Parsons-less Cowboys, Broncos, who are a tougher team, Panthers, probably a questionable Bengals at this point in the season, last week of October, Browns, Patriots, Falcons, Jaguars, but also the Ravens, but also the Saints.
mhm.
So it's like I
If
feel
you were to
like
tell me this would be like a sneaky like 6-3 team, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. That's what's funny. For all the
yeah,
weird, like, the vibes are all over the place for all four of the teams in this division, but all of them could easily be 6-3, and for three of those teams that would be complimentary, and for one of those teams that would be derogatory.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they like based off of their schedule. And I wouldn't say they did much this off season, but I I don't think they screwed up.
Hmm.
If they kept Rodgers, yeah, they would have screwed up. But also, I feel like that's how you lose all of your stars if that happened.
It's what, and at the end of the day, maybe that's the most damning indictment of Robert Saleh and that previous
Yeah,
administration was like they had two open rebellions effectively against their starting quarterback. It's like if nothing else, you got to at least like culture is the main thing a head coach has to bring,
yeah,
and like the players rebelling like that is just unacceptable.
that's absolutely wild. But I think like I could see them having 6 wins. I could see them
Yeah,
doing
it'd
a
be a
little bit
feisty
better
and
than last
inspiring
year.
6 wins.
Yeah, I can see them eking out a surprise win over a team that is supposed to be good or is like on the good side of the rankings.
If you were to tell me they beat the Bills once, I mean,
I mean,
they beat them once
they
with
play
Zach
in
Wilson,
week
so
18, so
well,
that
well,
that could be it.
that doesn't count.
It does not count at all, but I feel like that could be when they beat the Bills. It's still a win for them.
All right, all right. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah,
It's always chaotic, but always interesting going through all the teams, getting the full scope. Again, if one of the visions of this show is the don't explain on or don't sleep on branding, is
mm-hmm.
like
All
getting
right.
you to think
Hold on.
about the teams you might not necessarily.
Before you, I was gonna say, yeah, I like where you're going with that, and I'm gonna say this now before you interrupt. Give me 2 teams of each conference that are your. It's like I don't want you to like keep tabs on them, but don't sleep on them. Like who do you think?
Ooh, two
Who?
teams on each conference.
Yeah, 2 teams in each conference. Who do you think are gonna be like the guys that I'm gonna say one can already be playoff caliber, like they played in the playoffs last season, but
Hmm.
not both. Of like
Okay.
who's gonna have the like a dramatic or not a dramatic shift, but like a clear, oh, we're actually a decent team.
My two, they're going to be two teams that weren't in the playoffs: the Tennessee Titans and New York Football Giants.
Wow, you're going like bottom of the barrels improving.
Right. Well, because like I guess the Giants got a lot of headway last year because of the Saquon Barkley thing,
Yeah.
but they are two teams that kind of do just fade into the white noise of an NFL season because of how bad they are. And I'm like, I feel like they could sneak out of that, where it's like, no,
Hmm.
people like, they actually get broadcast time, they actually get attention.
Yeah. I'm gonna say don't sleep on the Raiders again. I'm.
Mhm.
They seem to be having a
Someday,
solid. If I keep saying it, it'll be right at some point. But a now technically a veteran, Brock Bowers, helping lead the charge could be good. And who do I want to say on the NFC side? Mm, you know what? No, that would be a little bit more controversial. I think I'm gonna go with the Seahawks.
I
I
like
think
it.
them being a very hodgepodgey team with Darnold, who made impacts on a bunch of teams, Cup, who was a Ram for so long, uh, JSN and Charbonnet, and Kenneth Walker returning. Jake Bobo still has a silly name that lets me giggle. Um, I think, yeah, I think those could be guys that it's just like I think I think the Seahawks have potential to not be just the pacer team like they were last year. I think they can. I think strength of schedule plus being under Pete Carroll now could put them just a little bit over, make them a sneaky threat.
I like the sound of that.
And the Raiders, I feel like if I say it enough, it'll actually happen.
It's
I don't know
overdue.
why. I don't know why I want them to win. It's not like I like them or anything. I think I'm just doubling down for a bit, and I don't want to say the Broncos because I feel like they kind of proved themselves and they didn't really fuck up their offseason enough to be like
They
to
have too many
consider
expectations now.
a loss of things.
Hmm. That's fair. But yeah, that's kind of the mantra of don't sleep on football. Looking for, giving you a broad sense. So for those water cooler moments, you have one or two unique quips to say to really impress your coworkers.
Hmm.
Learn a little bit that you might not get to learn if you just read the headlines, sort of thing. And yeah, the next time you hear us, we will be setting up for the season, going through week one, giving our sort of big, bold predictions for the season. But until then, I'm Carter.
And I'm not.
Have a fuck. I almost did the Disney desk closing.
All right, now I caught you with that one.
May well, here's what I'll say. And as we wrap up, we are about 48 hours from Football Night in America. Start your countdowns.